What up? This is the Gopher Broke podcast. We are talking wide receivers and tight ends and Akron and Washington and so much more. So be sure to hit subscribe. We're going to get after it. Let's go. What up? You are listening to the Gopher Broke podcast. It's your boy Kane, Rob, and Tristyn Spann-Ford coming at you once a week, every week, talking Gophers football and some other Gophers things along the way. But we are here with the Gopher Broke podcast. It is the show for the real ones, the real Gopher fans out there. So if that sounds like you, be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube. We lock in once a week, every week. We're back on track with our schedule here in the off season. And then once we get to the season, we are going to throw in a second show most weeks as well, which will be a live immediate reaction video after the Gophers game. So be sure to hit subscribe, join in on the crew, get your comments going. We'll do a mailbag maybe sometime in the near future as well to get some more interactions and a live video going. But we are always here. We're always getting it after it. And Tristyn Spann-Ford, my boy, how are you doing?
Wonderful. We're there. By the time people hear this is probably, we're within 50 days of football. Football season is here. It is pretty much started. Camp will be here before we know it. People are reporting. It feels so good. We're past the 4th of July, so we're going to hit that dog days of summer where it's like, okay, bring me some chili. Give me some cold weather so we can watch some football. I cannot wait. Speaking of the 4th of July, though, I do have my gripe for the week.
Ooh, he's ready with the gripe. Coming in hot. How we doing? What is it?
I did not respect the sun this last weekend. And I don't know about you. Are you a sunscreen guy? We're both mixed, so we don't need the sunscreen, right? So typically I'll do a little bit of sunscreen, but if I put it on the kids, I'll do a little on my face if I need to. But this weekend, I didn't respect the sun at all. And we did the pool for about 3 hours, and I was just chilling good all day. We got back to the house, and I was just red. Couldn't move. I went to work, put my shirt on. It was hurting me all day long. So that is my issue. I did not respect the sun, and I paid for it. I mean, I'm nice golden browns now, but
that's what a lot of people would say, F around and find out. The sun said, F around and find out. Big time.
You know what I'm saying? Usually I'm good. We don't got to worry about it. But, man, it was different.
It is very rare that I put on sunscreen. But, again, because I be putting it on my son, and I'm like, no, you're going to have it everywhere. You're going to look purple because we going to make sure. But,
exactly.
No, I usually, the first place I burn is on the tips of my ears, and I could tell they're getting a little burnt out. And I was like, oh, okay, it's bad. It's hot. It's blazing. It's time to get some sunscreen.
Yeah, it was a problem. So I just been dealing with that all week.
Oh, dang. I feel you. I feel for you. But look, the sun tried to warn you. Tried to tell you. It gave you a little warning, and you didn't listen.
Yep.
All right. Before we dive into some Gophers talk, I actually have a gripe too, and I'm going to get into it here. It relates to Gophers things. It's not about the Gophers, but you'll get me. Before we get to that, though, I do want to give a shout out to Jace and the Trettin family. They are Jace is going through a bone marrow transplant right now, and guess what? If you haven't heard of Jace, you should definitely check out Jace's journey over on Twitter. This kid is like one of the strongest kids I know, one of the most die-hard Gopher fans that I know. So we are just sending thoughts, prayers, positive vibes all their way. That family is amazing. I just want to give them a shout. So make sure to give them some love. Follow them over on Twitter. Send positive vibes, positive messages. But I want to be sure to shout that out. My gripe, Tristyn, has to do with it happens every year. I shouldn't be surprised. We're at that point in the off season, and it's the disrespect of the list Gophers players. And so this for me is Drake Lindsey. I saw On3 dropped their top 10 quarterbacks in the Big Ten. They put Drake at 10. I'm happy they at least got him in the top 10, but the three in front of him were not better, and I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. But there were other lists that were coming around that didn't even have him in the top 10. I'm like, what are we doing here? I get that he plays for the Gophers, but my guys, Just watch. And if you can't just watch, even look at the damn stats. The stats will tell you he is better than the bottom 8 quarterbacks in the Big Ten. I just don't get it. Look, they keep sleeping on my boy, okay? And I'm not okay with it. I'm not going to stand for it anymore because I keep seeing Bryce Underwood. I get it. He was 5-star, number 1 kid in his class, but he didn't look like that guy last year. I'm sorry, he didn't. Malik Washington had some nice spots last year for Maryland, freshman as well, but not really efficient in the 50s for completion percentage. I'm not letting that slide. Sorry, y'all gave Drake some crap when he had bad games that were in the 50s. This boy finished with in the 50s for his entire year, so I can't let it slide. And then Nico Amalivia, and I know it's Iamaliava, but look, I'm never gonna let that troll go. Amalivia, Mr. Amalivia, he left Tennessee and he went to UCLA. They got On3 has all 3 of them ranked ahead of my boy Drake Lindsey. Stop the madness. Stop the cap. It ain't real. I can't stand for it anymore. Underwood. Yep, higher rated quarterback in high school. This ain't high school no more. We've grown up. We're big boys now. And so, overall, from what you've seen from him, Drake's the better quarterback. He has the stronger arm. He reads the field better. He's better through his progressions. He takes care of the ball better. Underwood's a better athlete. Underwood can run more. I'll give it to him. But it's a helmet school take just to throw him in front of Drake, looking at their numbers, looking at their film, looking at their stats. He was at 60% completion, 2,428 yards, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So Drake Lindsey had 7 more touchdowns, 3 less interceptions, better completion percentage, and he was only like 50 yards difference. Like, how do you have him better? Because of high school? We ain't in high school no more. Moving on to Malik Washington. Came out hot last year. I respect it. I know my boy Tristyn was out there betting on some of his numbers because he was putting up crazy numbers. But midway points, defenses started to figure him out. The tape came out there, and that said his team was constantly behind in games. Maryland was getting smoked like all season last season after the first 4 or 5 games, and he passed almost 100 times more than Drake Lindsey, but he only had 580 more yards than Drake Lindsey. On 100 more pass attempts, he had more interceptions, he had less touchdowns, but he's somehow better than Drake Lindsey. Like, I can't stand for it. And then I got to get to Nico Amalivia. Look, he had a mediocre year last year. 1,928 pass yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He is getting bailed out because of what he did at Tennessee in a good system in the SEC where people wanted to crown the guy. And before he was asking for $3-4 million, people were like, this guy's going to be the top 10 quarterback in the nation with Tennessee. Then all the drama happened and people kind of fell down on him. But you're telling me he had the upside to be a top 10 quarterback in the nation off of his redshirt freshman year, right? Right?
Yep.
His redshirt freshman year, 2,616 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 63% completion. I know another redshirt freshman quarterback named Drake Lindsey who had 2,382 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 63% completion. So they had damn near the same season as redshirt freshmen, and we're giving one the upside of a potential top 10 quarterback in the nation, and the other one isn't even a top 10 quarterback or is number 10 in the Big Ten. Make it make sense. It's all BS at this point, and it's just I'm fed up with it.
And see, okay, so my take is quarterback lists are strictly made to piss people off. Like, that's the only reason people make quarterback.
Mission accomplished.
Now, if this guy was smart, he would have put Drake at like 5. Because Michigan fans, the engagement you would have gotten
way higher.
This guy doesn't know what he's doing. So he needs to be, not because this list is so bad, he doesn't even understand the assignment. Like, if you're going to do it,
go clickbait.
Exactly. If you're going to do it, you got to go big or go home. The numbers do not lie. And even if you're going off of potential, I mean, the intangibles, Drake is taller, bigger, maybe not faster than all those guys,
probably not.
Not even one of them actually, but
look, I'm
bigger, stronger,
boy, but,
better arm.
We can't get on that one.
It's the argument that people always have where, I mean, I know what side of the boat you're on when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, who's the greatest quarterback of all time. I hate Aaron Rodgers, but when you look at it and say who could throw better, who was more accurate, who had a stronger arm, all those check boxes go to Aaron Rodgers. Like, he was, like, arguably on paper, he was a better physical quarterback, but it all goes to Tom Brady. The Nico on the list here, that's just recency bias. Like, they finished the year with all the headlines because they won 3 games that they shouldn't have after they fired their entire staff, and they got the assistant coach bump, which was awesome, like, good for them, but it is strictly recency bias, like, because they were dog shit the first half of the season. So that's my only take on the Nico part of it, which, hey, I think they're going to be better this year. But yeah, it is blatant disrespect because he goes to Minnesota, which, again, if you are not putting him on that list in a correct spot because you know that you're not going to get engagement from Minnesota fans, then you need to put him in the correct spot, because then you'll get engagement from all those other fans. Like, that's my big thing. He's just bad at making lists.
Going. What we really need to make happen is I need to make Tristyn start writing our headlines for videos, and we'll clickbait everybody and get them to come. Instead of giving you all the real, and then all of a sudden the views are.
It's just going to be like, Kane said what?
Yeah, and it gets crazier for some. Like, some people are talking about Colandrea or Hauser being better than Drake Lindsey because now it's Nebraska's quarterback and Illinois' quarterback. Look, both of those quarterbacks struggled in power conferences. Colandrea with the ACC, Hauser with the Big Ten with Michigan State. They both struggled. They both moved down. They both found success. What makes you think they're going to be ballers again at the level they struggled at? Now, I'm not saying they can't have improved, but what I'm saying is, let's look at the guy who just started at the Big Ten and look good. Come on now.
You can't make the argument about potential and then not talk about a returning quarterback who's already proven himself. Like,
just crazy.
Yeah.
But we got to keep trucking because we got a whole lot to cover. We're covering wide receivers and tight ends, 2 rooms, 1 show. That is here on the Gopher Broke podcast. So let's get after it. Tristyn, Spann-Ford. We're looking at starting receivers. I'm going to guess right now, if we had to lock it in today, it's Jalen Smith, Javon Tracy, and Noah Jennings. Those are the top 3, in my opinion, coming into this fall camp. Now, it could shift. Maybe some of the guys. I have 3 tiers for both of these rooms. I have starting receivers, I have fighting for the rotation, and I have youth and upside. Those are the 3 tiers that I have for each of these breakdowns, both wide receivers and tight ends. And I would say the starters are those 3. Anything that shocks you there? Are you feeling somebody else, or what are you thinking?
No, that's exactly like kind of what I was thinking. I'm sure we'll get into it. I'm excited about Perry Thompson, but we'll get into that. But yeah, those 3 guys, I mean, they've all gotten reps. Other than Noah Jennings is a transfer coming in this year, correct?
Mm-hmm,
but Jalen Smith and Javon Tracy are going to be Javon Tracy. Not going to say Javon Tracy this year. Javon Tracy are going to have monster years. I'm very excited for them. 1 more year in the system.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for both of them. Look, I have always been a Javon Tracy guy. I think I called him as my top receiver of the room last year. And he did finish there in some categories. I can't remember what off the top. But this year, I think I am going to be more of a Jalen Tracy guy. Or Jalen Tracy. I mixed the 2 of them. Jalen Smith. I think I'm going to be more of the Jalen Smith guy just because I feel like I remember last fall camp just seeing the connection of Jalen Smith and Drake Lindsey and just seeing it happen. I was like, man, there's something special here. It's brewing. I know a lot of media folks, Ryan Burns, Daniel House, others were saying it as well. But then we got to the season, even game 1, I think Jalen Smith had like 9 targets or 11 targets or something like that in game 1. But it was redshirt freshman year, his first time. There's some drops, there were some issues, things like that. But we saw him come alive towards the end. He won the damn bowl game for us for the most part. I think now he's like, I know what to expect. I know what it is. I know what I'm doing. He's rocking the gold C, Captain C on his jersey. He's one of the captains of this team this year. And so I think we're going to see he earned that captain spot. He's going to be a big factor. And I think Jalen Smith is my guy to watch this year. I think he's going to lead this room. I think he's going to have some big plays across the middle. I think he's going to have some deep shots. And I'm really intrigued by Jalen Smith.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I think it would be really nice. I mean, obviously it would be nice, but I think that this wide receiver room is actually going to come out looking extremely ready to go. Mm-hmm. Like last year we talked about, we said slow start, ton of drops, even that affected, what Drake's numbers looked like going into the first few weeks. And we're not going to see any of that this year. Like these guys are going to be, there's not going to be any shock to the system. So
I think it's nice too because we play Eastern Illinois right away. We play Eastern Illinois, an FCS opponent, and like last year we played Northwestern State in the second game, but the first game with the Buffalo squad, it was a little bit of a slugfest to begin because the Gophers just couldn't find their footing. Look, I have no worries about them finding their footing in this first game against Eastern Illinois. I think Drake Lindsey could very well have 280 passing yards right away, and then they bench him because they're like, look, we're already smoking these fools. So I think overall the big test is going to be week 2. And that's where we're really going to see what this Gophers offense truly looks like in week 2 against Mississippi State. We talked about that matchup on last show, so be sure to go give that a listen if you want to hear more of the details and why that game is actually a little bit more intriguing and maybe a little bit more anxiety driven than what we were anticipating before we dove into the numbers. But like I said, this is the wide receivers. I talked about Jalen Smith. I like Javon Tracy. I think being in year 2 of the system now, we've seen transfers in this Minnesota system. They don't usually just immediately blow up in this wide receiver room. It usually takes that second year. We saw it with Elijah Spencer. We saw it with a couple others out there. I can't think of them off the top, but overall, we've seen it takes like a year or 2 to really get into the system. And so I think Javon Tracy is going to see a lot of cool opportunity this year. I think he's going to see a lot of moments. But even last year in year 1, we're talking about 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's not bad for year 1. But if you look at what he did the year before at Miami of Ohio, he had 818 with 7 touchdowns. So if we get that Javon Tracy level of production at the Big Ten level, that's a special year. That's a good year. And I think Javon Tracy is capable of it. So I think Javon Tracy, Jalen Smith, I'm expecting a lot of things from them. I think Noah Jennings is the next one up like we've talked about, but I wouldn't be surprised if Noah Jennings leads the third receiver slot with snaps, but we still see some of these other guys in the fighting rotation for the rotation spot take some snaps here and there from that third receiver, and really the bulk heavy ones go to Jalen Smith and Javon Tracy. So who are you liking next up beyond these 3 players when it comes to this wide receiver room? Any names that are stepping up? I think you mentioned one earlier, but are there any guys that you're like, man, I'm excited, I'm calling it, this is my guy, or how are you feeling?
I'm I'm actually feeling really confident about those same guys. As far as my guys, I really think that we're gonna have a big year. I mean, if I'm wide receivers coach, I'm working all off season like, hey, we got to get some separation. That was the big thing last year, is it just got to get some separation. That was a struggle all year. But as far as next guys up, I'm excited about Perry Thompson. Like I talked about, transfer coming in, he's a 4-star dude, so kind of highly touted. And I know in the past, those highly touted wide receivers that join the system aren't always what they pan out to be for the Gophers. But I think he could be really good, and especially if he has the skill and can catch on to the system really fast, especially having him as a rotation dude might be kind of nice. I mean, just to get a 4-star, you got to think the speed, the ability is going to be there physically, which is a huge part of what we were missing, as far as creating that separation.
Yeah, Perry definitely has the talent. I think the biggest thing is people want to see him expand the route tree a little bit more. Just didn't have a lot of opportunity to run different types of routes with Auburn. And so I think not only shifting systems, Auburn was definitely not a pro-style system. Now he comes to a pro-style system. I could see that taking some time, but maybe it just takes the spring and early fall, and then he's able to kind of lock in. Maybe it just takes the spring. He uses all this time in the summer to know what he's looking at, and comes and competes in the fall to make a case for himself. I could see that too, but Perry Thompson, definitely an extremely gifted and talented athlete at the wide receiver position. I'm intrigued by what he could bring to this team. But the name that I've got, so my 4 names in the fighting for the rotation are Perry Thompson, Hayden Moore, Zion Steptoe, and Nuke Hayes. But the name of those 4 that I'm like, dang, man, I'm getting excited, is Hayden Moore. True freshman, came early enrollee in the spring. Now, look, I've been hyped up on some early looks for freshmen almost every dang year with the Gophers, and I've been hurt almost every dang year by not because they didn't do well, but because PJ and crew just haven't given them the real opportunities to shine. I know we've talked on this show on Locked On when I was there, we talked about Ike White a lot because I thought he popped off the page in spring and early fall stuff. Didn't really get to see him. We talked about Kendrick Lanier a lot. He popped off the page, looked really good, got a lot of spring hype, didn't really get to see him. So I'm hoping that is not the case here for Hayden Moore, but I'm telling you, this spring, he popped off the page and he looked really good, and he had a good he had a touchdown and a couple good looks in the spring game. Even Coach Fleck, I remember in the presser after, he had talked about how he reminds him of another 84 that he used to coach. Well, that other 84 was a first round pick in Corey Davis from Western Michigan. So anytime you're getting that kind of love, it's time to at least have the eyes open, give the eyes emoji. The, ooh, what you say? Like, what we looking at here?
Yep.
Like, Hayden Moore, that's a guy to definitely be aware of, be conscious of. Maybe he doesn't blow up this year. Maybe this isn't like the immediate, like he gets a ton of production. But if he gets some room, I think you can see some flashes, and he could be a guy that maybe steps into Javon Tracy's departure after this year, because Javon Tracy is a year 5 guy. So 5 for 5, he's done after this year. Noah Jennings could come back. Jalen Smith probably will come back. But beyond that, that means that there's another starting spot open, and maybe Hayden Moore could push for that. Maybe Perry Thompson could push for that. But overall, those two are my kind of top two. The other two to mention are Zion Steptoe, who I think is going to be used a lot in the special teams game, but we'll see how much he gets used in the receiving game. And then Nuke Hayes, dog. Look, you know we love Nuke Hayes on the show. We are big fans of Nuke Hayes. We've been talking about Nuke Hayes for 2 years now. But I just feel bad because I just feel like he's not getting a fair shake. He's not getting a fair shot. Now, I don't know what he's doing in practice, so I can't say it's not completely fair because maybe he's just not showing up in practice. But if he is, it's tough because he's stuck around. I'm just surprised. He's heading into year 4. He hasn't really got any tick. He's had a couple catches. And it's like, this is the dude who's been loyal, but he's not finding any opportunities on the field, and that's what cuts me deep a little bit. But I like Nuke Hayes. If he can find a way on the field, I'll be excited for him.
Yeah, we've talked about him for a couple of years now, and I really thought he was going to get. Did he have an injury a little bit last year, though, going into the beginning of the season?
I can't recall. I cannot recall. He had an injury this spring, though, so he definitely didn't get.
That's what I'm thinking of. It's just I just know we've mentioned him. And yeah, this year would be the year just to give him a few reps, see what he's got. You got to give him an opportunity.
If it's not the year, he's only got 1 year left.
That's
so
what
I don't
I'm
know
saying.
what to like.
That's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. And then the third and final category for the wide receivers is youth and upside. And I think that describes the rest of this room really well. You've got Bradley Martino. He's going to be a sophomore this year. I say sophomore. He would be a redshirt freshman. He would qualify for that. But again, 5 for 5. We don't do redshirts anymore. So Bradley Martino is going to be a sophomore, 4-star kid from last year's class. And then everybody else is true freshmen. Braden Stevens, Rico Blossomgame, Quade Hendricks, Josiah Dozier. So we've got a whole lot of youth in this room, a whole lot of guys that are going to be learning, probably treating this like a redshirt year if we're being 100% honest. But there's some intriguing talents in there. Bradley Martino, 4-star guy, like we said, he's got a lot of upside. Braden Stevens, if you've been listening to the show, if you're one of the loyal listeners who's hit subscribe and you're tapped in, first of all, appreciate you. Shout out, much love. But also, Braden Stevens, you will remember this spring, I called this man Lightning McQueen. He's faster than fast, quicker than quick. He is speed. This boy is flying. Now, I don't know if he's going to be used this year, but when you think of like Iowa and you think of Cooper DeJean, you think of Caden Wetjen, who was last year's returner, who was just a monster. He was a receiver, but he was really the returning freak. I think Braden Stevens can be that type of guy. I think he can be an awesome returner. I think he could be a speedy freak. I am excited to see what comes of him, but it might be another year or two before we really get to see him on the field.
Yeah, I do like how I know the wide receiver room is already kind of, it's a bigger room in general, but how deep and young we are is kind of a good feeling because it feels like we're in a weird, I don't want to say like a transition year, but we do have a few guys. I mean, going into last year, we had a lot of guys who were older dudes, like, Lemackie Brockington, like guys who had been around for a minute. And now even our two, Jalen Smith and Javon Tracy are dudes who have been here for like 2 years, so it's nice to know that, there's a younger class coming in as well that can develop within the program, as opposed to every single year being like, okay, well, how many transfers can we bring in? So I really hope a lot of these guys stick around and really, really invest the time into learning this program because it is a good opportunity. How many wide receivers that we've seen go from the Gophers? Obviously, okay, 2 or 3, but but that can make it to the next level, and in this system they can succeed, especially with the Gophers kind of going away from the Big Ten, not going away from it, but that Big Ten run that the Gophers of the past have done. Now that the playbook is opening up a little bit, I think there is opportunities for wide receivers to succeed here.
Yes. Now, I've told you I'm excited about Braden Stevens. I've told you about Bradley Martino, the 4-star who has the upside and the hype. I love the name Quade Hendricks. I'm like, damn, that's a really cool name. 10 out of 10 name. You know, Tristyn's a name guy. So you win the name game here in the receiver's room. Quade Hendricks. And Hendricks is with a Y instead of an I at the end. Love it.
Love that.
But I don't know too much about Quade. I don't know too much about Josiah at this given point in time. The name I do want to shout out is Rico Blossingame. This dude, I believe he is from Arizona. Am I right there? Yes, he is from Arizona. He was the number 46 ranked receiver by 247. So I am excited about him. He had offers from Arizona, Arizona State, Cal. Oh, did he have an offer from Indiana? He sure did. What's up? Pull them away.
Welcome.
Anyways, I'm really excited.
Let's move this boy up the roster so he's staying home.
I am really excited about him. And looking at his production in high school, you look at him as a sophomore, 60 receptions, 593 yards, 1 touchdown. Not bad for a sophomore. You get to junior year, 53 receptions, 690 yards, 5 touchdowns. Production went up. You love to see it. Senior year, 65 receptions, 1,001 yards, and 14 touchdowns. The development, the progression, you love to see it. Hopefully he continues to duke it out here. And hopefully, even if he doesn't get time this year, he continues to duke it out and go through that same progression. And we can see that same type of talent come to the field here with the Gophers as the years go by.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now let's shift it over to the tight end room. Now, this one is going to be a quicker talk just because there's a whole lot of unknowns here, dog. There's a whole lot of unknowns. It's hard to plant any flags or throw any things out there when there just hasn't been a lot of opportunities for this room. Now, we've got, again, I said starting, fighting for the rotation, youth and upside. So in my starting category, I've got Caden Helms and Pierce Walsh kind of as the top 2 guys in this. Year 5 guy, year 4 guy. So maybe there's one more year left for Pierce Walsh, but both those guys kind of at the end of the rope when it comes to eligibility coming up. Caden Helms comes from Oklahoma, transferred in. I don't remember what his production was overall with Oklahoma.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't much. It wasn't a ton.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so overall, it's just what you see in the spring and things like that. Yeah, last year he had 35 yards receiving with a touchdown. So it's not a ton, but he is a good blocker, I believe. I remember looking at the PFF grades, and he looked pretty good in the blocking production. I think Brev gave him a shout out as well when we had him on the show a few weeks ago. So Caden Helms is a guy I think we're going to see a lot of, maybe in both roles. Like I always think of things in the Brevin Spann-Ford role and the Nick Callerup role. Those are the 2 roles I often think about for him. And so I could see him playing kind of in both roles, but I think maybe he leans more towards the Callerup role a little bit. And then Pierce Walsh is more of that receiving tight end. And Pierce Walsh has shown flashes over the springs, over the falls. Last year, he was hurt all year. I really thought last year was going to be Pierce Walsh's here I am moment. So I'm hoping he gets the opportunity to do that here this year because I have a lot of faith in him. He has sturdy hands. Looks good. He's got good receiving chops. So I'm excited by him. Those 2 are kind of at the top of my list. Do you have anybody else at the top of your list?
I wrote Julian Johnson's name down because I'm intrigued by his size. He is a big dude. I think I saw one site had him listed at 6'7", 260. I saw another one, he's 6'6", 260. So he's a big dude, big frame. And so I think I'm kind of intrigued by that because I don't know if he can block and be athletic at that frame. That's a stud right there. And I want to say, and not to mention he's a sophomore too. So he's going to be in the room for a while if he stays around, if he can get some tick. But other than that, I also agree with the Pierce Walsh. He's been around for a minute and I'm really excited to see what he's put together. I just remember when he got here, we kind of had that conversation about his size, which tight end is such a weird position to even be able to recruit at. There's no world looking at Brevin as a senior in high school that I'd be like, that's going to be a tight end. Like, so I have no clue how you even recruit the tight end spot. I would just be taking transfers every single year. But I'm excited to see what Caden Helms can do too. You know, he's got experience for a big program, you know, not a good program, but a big program. And so I think that says a lot. And so if that can, you know, transfer too, that'd be great.
I'm with you. I like those names. I have Julian Johnson in my fighting for the rotation kind of area here for myself, but I think it's a good call out. Another good call out in the same class as him is Jacob Simpson, a guy from Iowa, the state. He never actually went there because he stayed and committed to Minnesota from jump. So you love to see that. But I think he's got a lot of talent. I remember seeing him a bit here in the spring, but I think he picked up a minor injury towards it. So we didn't get to see him as much. He's a guy that looked like he was getting rotations between the ones and the twos, so maybe he could find his way into some opportunity. So maybe he deserves to be more in the fighting for the rotation along with Julian Johnson. One other name I want to mention, I have two other names in the fighting for the rotation category, but the one I want to bring up is Roman Voss, the high-star recruit who stayed home with Minnesota. Now, if you watched him in high school, he played defense, he played quarterback, he played everything. The boy was like what we saw Coy do in his division in high school football. That is what Roman Voss did in his division in high school football. And he was a baller. He was one of the best in the country, or in the state, one of the best in the country also. But we won him over Bama. So when you know Bama's going after him and going hard, it wasn't like he got a Bama offer and they didn't really care. They were going hard after my guy Roman Voss, and he decided to stay home. It sounds like he is going to be playing tight end. And I think we talked about it here. It could be tough to see him get real opportunities as a true freshman because tight ends is one of those ones where it takes time to develop. It just does, plain simple. That being said, the amount of IQ Roman Voss brings to the field, having been a quarterback for most of his time in high school as well, maybe that gives him quicker starts to picking things up and quicker starts to kind of being able to contribute in different ways. Maybe by the end of the year, maybe in that bowl game season, if Caden Helms decides not to play or if people are hurt, maybe Roman Voss really gets some opportunity to shine. And I think he can show just how special he is.
Yeah, I hope that's the case too. I literally think I say this every single year we talk about the tight ends. I think when you have so much potential as a young tight end, it's probably got to be the most frustrating thing ever, knowing that you know what to do and you know you can do it, but you're just physically, you can't make yourself grow any faster than your body wants to grow. And that's the case when you're playing in the Big Ten and you're going up against, you know, these D linemen who are just knuckle draggers. Like you can't do nothing with it. So when you're coming in as a 19-year-old, it can be tough battling it out with these, you know, 20-year-old dudes 21-year-olds who have been playing Big Ten football for the last 2 years.
I agree with you 100%. I just looked up Roman Voss's senior year stats. Just senior year, right? I don't think I've ever given this dude enough credit for what he did as a senior in football. Like, I have to be reading this wrong. This cannot be right. The dude had 1,902 pass yards and 21 passing touchdowns, along with 1,893 rush yards and 30 rushing touchdowns. What? Like,
he played quarterback, right?
He played quarterback, and then he also played on defense and had 18 tackles and an interception. Like, this dude went nuts. Apparently, in the title game, I knew this dude was good. I knew all the hype and everything that people were saying. I didn't realize it was like this. But in the title game against Goodhue last year, he rushed for 252 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, my boy was like, I'm getting this chip, dog.
I'm doing this
chip. Man, Roman Voss, hell of an athlete.
A great name. That's a dope name.
And a great name.
Fun fact, we named our dog Roman, and then we proceeded to have another boy after. And I was so mad.
You were mad.
I was so mad. I was like, we wasted this good name on a dog.
Otherwise, the final name to bring up in the fighting for the rotation for me is Sam Peters, Maple Grove. He won a state championship with them, I believe. Hasn't got a ton of opportunity, just like a lot of the others in this room. We'll see if he can scrap his way to the top. It is going to be a competitive room. And then youth and upside, I've got George Roll and Gabe Weaver. Both of them are coming in for the first time. this year. And so I think, like we said, it's probably going to be a learning and development year. Like it might be with Roman Boss, but if any of them have a chance to get on the field, I do think it's Roman. George and Gabe likely going to be putting on some weight, getting strong with the strength and conditioning program, and then we will see how they can fit in over the next few years. But that wraps up the tight end room, and now we got to move over. We got two other opponents to cover here. Look, your boys, June was sloppy, but we're making it happen. We're getting it back for you. Now we're going to talk about Akron, but we're going to talk about Akron real quick. It's quick hitting because it's Akron. I'm sorry. The only thing good out of Akron is LeBron James. So we need to keep our moving.
I texted Kane and said, you don't got no respect for Maction, huh? No
respect. The only respect I got for Maxim right now is Bowling Green, and they earned that respect painfully, okay? They painfully earned that respect. They also lost that respect in that bowl game when they let Cole Kramer win with 12 passing yards, but I digress. Anyways, quick hitting on Akron. I'm going to fly through this so we can both talk about Washington, but I want your quick thoughts on Akron before I dive in.
Akron is in Ohio, and I can't wait to bet on them on a random Wednesday night.
I love it.
I want to turn the TV on and just see Akron versus App State and just live bet Akron just for fun. Just hammer the over because it's going to be snowy or rainy. It's always rainy in a Action game. Just going to bet the over no matter what.
I feel you. All right,
those are my Akron talks.
Their MAC team, like Tristyn said, they went 5-7 last year. They also had a common opponent in Nebraska, who they lost to Nebraska, and Minnesota whooped Nebraska last year, right? So Minnesota won 24-6 against Nebraska. Akron played Nebraska, and they lost 68-0. So that's where I'm just like, I'm not worried about this game. Like, I know it's disrespectful, but at the same time, like, I'm sorry. Anyways, Reese Poffenbarger is their quarterback. Now, he was a solid FCS quarterback for 2 years at Albany, where he had 6,613 pass yards, 60 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. Good 2 years out there in Albany. Now, he transferred up to Miami. Miami is where he went, right? He ended up being the backup to Cam Ward. That guy's good. Number 2 in passing yards in 2024, Cam Ward, right? So tough, but obviously it was a good backup behind him and didn't have to play much. Next year, transfers to University of North Texas. He's like, dog, I'm going to get some playing time. We're going to make it happen. Let's get it. Now, I don't know if you watched North Texas last year, but they're pretty dang good last year.
Yes, I did.
Guy, Drew Mestemaker, who led the entire country, number 1 in pass yards. So, Cam Ward, number 2 in pass yards 2024. He goes to North Texas like, yo, I'm going to get some time. And Drew was like, nah, you're not, dog, because I'm going to lead the entire nation in passing yards in 2025. So he has been a backup for those guys over the last 2 years. He's actually somewhat respectable, but I'm not convinced he's anywhere going to be near ready enough for this Gophers defense in game 3 of the year. I can't get there. So it's going to be a tough day for Reese Poffenbarger. They have a running back coming back. He is definitely a player to know on this offense. Second team All-MAC last year. He had 1,000 yards rushing. He is the first 1,000-yard rusher for Akron since 2008. So it's been a minute, dog. It's been a minute. But he got 1,030 yards, so he just cracked it, but he got there. And then they have 2 receivers to definitely keep an eye on. Marcel Williams, he was also second team MAC last year, 45 receptions, 641 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Kyan Mason, 33 receptions, 481 yards, 5 touchdowns. So all 3 of those guys, good skill players coming back. So they have production coming back. But I think that overall, I'm not super worried. Now, I'm going to be a little bit disrespectful to Akron because I didn't look up any defensive players to keep track of because we got to keep rolling through this.
We will get there when we get to the game. People, we got to remember. We'll get there. We'll give them plenty of respect on that week.
Maybe. Probably not. Anyways, they were the pass defense 87th in the country last year. Rush defense 77th. Total defense 80th. Scoring defense 86th. And then sacks tied for 56 and turnovers tied for 36. So they held their own on defense. Overall, they were a little below average across the board, but they found a way to get turnovers. I think Minnesota has zero business in losing this game, and I don't think they will, so I'm ready to move on.
Love it.
All right, so let's get to the next game, and this is the game I think I have the most fear of in the first half of the season. if I'm being 100% honest with you. It is Washington on the road at Washington. First road game for the Gophers in the season of 2026, 2027. And I don't know, dog. I don't know. I thought I could maybe talk myself into it, but I don't know if I can get there. How are you feeling about the Washington Huskies going on the road? Crazy environment. Washington does not play, dog. They are one of the best in the nation when it comes to fan base and the energy at that stadium. How are you feeling against Washington?
At this moment, I'm feeling the same way you are. I'm feeling not extremely confident. Now, week of, I will talk
always
myself.
Find a way to talk himself.
Always find a way. Always. Because I'm not going to go to a game and think we can lose. But I will have one thing that we can hang our hat on. Wisconsin beat this team.
Yeah, you're right.
Wisconsin beat this team I think they were in Camp Randall. But Wisconsin, if they can beat this team, we can beat this team. Anybody can beat this team. Okay? Now, in Washington, you are correct. That is going to be insane. That environment is as hostile as it comes. And we are not good on the road as is. Hoping we flip that. But going into this game, hopefully we're 3-0. Vibes are high. And we can carry that momentum through. I don't know who. I didn't look at. Usually, I'm a big, I'm a big timing guy too. So I didn't look at who Washington has the following week or the week before. But I'm sure it's just a non-conference game before that. But they're a good team. They're a really good team. They brought in a 4-star defensive lineman this year, Dejan Yarbrough, which apparently he is just a monster. I was reading some article about, and he'll be good to go right away. Which I think he's an offensive lineman because that'll really test our D line, which I am confident in still. What else did I write here? Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, they had a good record last year. They're a good team. They're a really good team, and they have been for the last 3 or 4 years. So,
yeah, no, they're a high-quality team. The week before they play Eastern Washington, so that doesn't do us any favors. The week after, they're at USC, which maybe they could be looking at, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough one.
It's so early in the season, and they're at home. The weather's going to be nice still. Yeah. They're going to be ready to rip.
And we're going across two. Not only are we not good on the road, we're going across 2 time zones, and that's never good for anybody.
PJ, what we should do is leave that night. We should just after the Akron game, just PJ get everybody on the plane that night. And we're doing all practices all week in Washington.
Virtual classes or Skippy classes. Talk to all the teachers. They don't, man.
Yeah, they got tutors that travel with them. They'll be all right.
No, I am concerned about this matchup. Now, like you said, they did lose to Wisconsin last year. Otherwise, their other 3 losses were high quality. Number 1, Ohio State, number 6, Oregon, and number not ranked Michigan, but still. Anyways, they lost to 3 helmet schools in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin one, I can't believe they did. If they don't luse to Wisconsin, they're a 10-win team, and maybe they have a case at a playoff.
It might be a playoff. Yeah.
Maybe not. They would have been 9-3 in the regular season. The 10th win was the bowl game, so maybe they're not quite in the playoff. But I don't think they would have beat out Notre Dame, who got left out. So anyway,
the loss to Wisconsin hurt them a lot. That's a weird loss.
Definitely cut deep. So last season, the Washington team went 9-4. They beat Boise State in their bowl game. Their only big win was versus Illinois, who was ranked 23rd at the time. Otherwise, like, the wins don't really impress you. Colorado State, meh. UC Davis, meh. Washington State, meh. Maryland, meh. Rutgers, like, what are we doing here? Purdue,
they had a pretty smooth schedule last year. Like, this year they got to be in a tougher schedule. I would assume they got to play Ohio State this year. Then they got to play
because they had Ohio State last year. They did. They had Ohio State and Michigan last year, and Oregon. Their schedule doesn't look terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. They got Minnesota to kick off the Big Ten. Then they got USC. Then they got Iowa, Purdue, Nebraska, Penn State, Michigan State, and they end with Indiana and Oregon. The last 2 games is real tough. Everything else is competitive or easy for them, I think. So
that's tough if you go into – they won't be undefeated because they got to play us. But if you go undefeated and then finish out the season and get or lose one and then get bounced out of playoffs basically because you have to go through a gauntlet in the last 2 games.
I feel like even if you started the season 10-0 and then you played Indiana and Oregon, even if you lose both those games, you're 10-2. You probably got a decent shot at the playoff,
but you don't feel good about it.
And you just lost your opportunity at a Big Ten championship game. Like you're not playing the championship anymore.
You're basically saying that if you go into those games 10-0, you're starting your playoffs right there because you're gonna have to play one of those 2 teams probably again.
Probably that's true. But yeah, when I look at this Washington team and I compare it a little bit last year, like I'm not saying compare the players and whatnot, but I'm saying you look at the schedule that they had. They lost to the teams that are really good, that they were quote unquote supposed to lose to, and they beat the teams they were supposed to beat, except for Wisconsin. Minnesota, fairly similar. They lost to the teams they were supposed to lose to, and they beat most of the teams they were supposed to beat, besides Northwestern and Cal. You look at the Northwestern and Cal games, and you're like, what the hell? But if you beat one of those 2, I'm not even saying both of them. If you beat one of those 2, you have the exact same record as Washington. And you're talking about, we lost one game we weren't supposed to, either Northwestern or Cal. If you flip the other one to a win, you're talking about the exact same excuses. You lost to the teams that are good, you beat the teams you were supposed to beat, and you had one hiccup game. Like, that's how similar both of these teams are. Now, when we get into the players, that's where things get a little bit different. Not quite, but they had a number of guys go to the NFL last year. DeMond Williams. This is an interesting one, dog. I know we've talked about him here on the show because this man committed to Washington, which he was already playing there. He started last year. Committed to Washington, and then he was like, actually, I appreciate y'all, but I'm hitting the transfer portal like the day before it was about to close, and was supposedly going to go to LSU because Kiffin was trying to get him. And then Washington was like, yo, no. You already signed, dog, and we will make you pay every dollar, and we will make you do all this stuff. And then he's like, actually, after some consideration, I'm going to stay.
Talking to my family.
Right. I'm going to stay and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, whoa. So maybe, I don't think it's going to be toxic. I think they're going to be like, whatever, you're QB1, let's go win. But maybe, just maybe you're hoping for like something goes wrong in the season that DeMond, maybe they drop a game they're not supposed to. Maybe it's versus Minnesota and all of a sudden people are like, what the heck? You were supposed to be our leader. And then they turn on him. Maybe, and that's our hope, that Minnesota get like Anthony Smith, TJ Bush, they just shake him up, rattle him up, and all of a sudden his team doesn't trust him anymore. And that's what we'll pray for. I mean, we don't pray for injuries. We don't pray for bad things. No. But we can pray for Anthony Smith and TJ Bush to rattle a quarterback to the point where his team just doesn't trust him anymore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely we can. And that is exactly what they're going to do. It is weird having – I'm so confident in this defense that it makes me sick. It makes me so nervous. But here we are.
I'm a little bit nervous about the interior defensive line still. We got to see something play out there. We lost a whole lot of numbers in that defensive tackle, which we'll talk about when we get to that position group show. But outside of DeMond Williams, who is a very talented quarterback and a very lethal quarterback with his legs as well. Last year, he had 3,065. We had 3,065 pass yards on 70 completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and that was just passing. You go to rushing, and he was the second leading rusher on the team with 611 yards and 6 more rushing touchdowns. This dude is a weapon both ways. He's short. He's like 5'10", so he's like a little Kyler Murray out there, just scattling. And I think overall he's going to be the biggest challenge for this Gophers team. But luckily, we see Kamario Taylor in week 2, so we will have already played a quarterback that has that similar skill set and is bigger and is stronger and probably has a bigger arm. So overall, like, I'm not saying Kamario Taylor is better than DeMond Williams, but I'm saying we will have played a quarterback of a very similar skill set, which hopefully that helps us lean into this game a little bit more in trying to stop him.
Yeah, I hope so. He is super athletic. Yeah, we got to hope for bad vibes. We just got to hope maybe there's a tiny bit of bad vibes going on.
You look at the rest of the offense, Jordan Washington is a name to know. Last year, he had 27 carries for 233 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, they lost their first 2 running backs, the first one being a stud and Jonah Coleman. He went to the NFL, got drafted by the Broncos. And then they lost their second dude, Adam Muhammad. And let me tell you, I am a huge Adam Muhammad fan. Dude is a beast. And I actually, when I was doing video coordinating for a D2 school, his brother, Adam Muhammad's brother, older brother, was our running back, and he was a beast. He was one of the best in D2, and his younger brother Adam was no joke. Like that dude he transferred to Cal, and he is going to be a monster for Cal next year. Just you heard me now. I'm saying this here in July 7th. 2026, Adam Muhammad's going to be a monster for Cal. But they lost him in the transfer portal, so Jordan Washington will probably be in the conversation to start. I think they got Trey Cooley who transferred in, but Jordan Washington had 8.6 yards per carry last season. So he is efficient. He can make it happen. We'll see if he can win that job over. Now, they also lost their number one wide receiver and their number one tight end to the NFL, and their number two wide receiver, Omari Evans, also, I believe, was an undrafted free agent to the NFL. So they lost 4 of their top 5 pass catchers from last year, all gone. So that's a whole lot of stepping up that their skill position players have to be doing. I think there are 2 players that are still back this year. They were both freshmen last year, and they put up numbers, so that's tough. Desmond Roebuck, who had 560 yards and 7 touchdowns as a freshman, and then Raiden Vines Bright, who had 238 yards and a touchdown. So they still have some dudes that can catch the ball, but they lost a lot of core pieces in the skill position.
That makes me feel a little bit better. I didn't realize they lost so many guys. I mean, I'm sure they're in the transfer portal just like everyone else, and probably not that hard to get a recruit to come live in Washington.
Yeah, I wasn't super impressed by their offensive transfer portal, but their defense had a couple dudes. But the last thing I'll talk about with their offense is this is the thing that is really good for them, and I think it actually boosts them a lot, is that 4 of their 5 starters from the offensive line last year are back. And when you can say 4 out of 5 guys are back, 3 of those 5 played over 500 snaps last year, and the other one played over 425 snaps. So they got 4 or 5 guys coming back that can help them run, that can give that quarterback time, and the quarterback's already good. That's going to be a problem, and I think that's a massive benefit.
Yeah, but they ain't seen this defensive line yet. They're about to learn Anthony Smith, baby.
You ain't wrong. And Carter Mans. Don't forget about my boy Carter Mans.
DJ Bush. Oh, my God.
Yes, sir. Anyways.
Every single show, we just go off on a tangent about how excited about the D-line we are.
Dog, if this D-line doesn't produce, we're going to have to end the podcast. We're going to have to call it a wrap. But speaking of defense, their defense was their biggest strength. We just talked about how they had NFL dudes on the offense, how the quarterback's really good, how they played well, and their defense was the best thing about them last year. Pass defense 13th in the nation, rush defense 12th in the nation, total defense 21st in the nation, scoring defense 15th in the nation. They were literally a top 15, top 20 unit in every category aside from sacks and turnovers. Sacks, they were 84th. Turnovers, they were 43rd. So they don't get a ton of sacks, don't get a ton of turnovers, at least last year. But even with that, they were a top 15 unit across the defense. That's tough.
Yeah, that's extremely impressive. That's a good squad.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe a lot of those
dudes lost to Wisconsin? What happened?
Right, what happened? But I was like, okay, maybe a lot of their defense left, so maybe their defense will be in shambles. Now, they got Elenius Davis back. Elenius Davis is from Minnesota kid. He picked Washington over Minnesota, still cut deep by that a little bit. I believe he was the number 2 kid in the state from Moorhead. But he is a defensive tackle, which we also need right now. So just cutting deeper. But overall, last year, he started 10 games, played in all 13 games, graded above average at a 71, had 29 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and a half sack. Now, they also have Jacob Lane back. He is an edge rusher, 40 tackles, 4 sacks, 2 pass breakups. So they got 2 guys back on that D-line. But the linebacker core brings back their second leading tackler in, I think it's Xire Alexander. He had 70 tackles, 1 sack, 3 pass breakups, and 1 interception. And then they also got 2 upside players in the linebacker position. One of them, Buddha Al-Ukta. I think that's how you say his name, Buddha Al-Ukta. I know I could be way wrong on that, but I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The other one, Jacob Manu, high upside guy. They like him a lot. He could work his way into a starting spot or heavily into the rotation. But so we've talked about linebackers. They got talent there. We've talked about 2 defensive line. They've got talent there. So I'm like, okay, we can breathe. Secondary, right? No. I'm wrong. They got their returning tackler back in safety, Alex McLaughlin, 94 tackles, 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 1 one touchdown. And then they also have his partner in crime, the other starting safety, is also back in Rylan Dillard Allen, who had 40 tackles. So they've got both of their safeties back. They got at least one linebacker with two others that they're super high on. And then they got two defensive linemen back. And then cornerbacks, they have their top three cornerbacks all played between 250 and 390 snaps last year. So they have a ton of experience returning on a defense that was a top 15 unit. All in all, I'm nervous about this game. I'm not going to lie.
The bench defensive, I mean, hey, this could be a low-scoring game. I'll get there. I'll get there. Reading the numbers, it's tough to know because you don't know. You don't know what the team looks like this year. You don't know.
But
we don't
we're
know.
on
We
road
don't know.
in a crazy road environment.
that crowd is insane.
Yeah.
I've never guessed that out of all the schools, like how much home field advantage they get from that crowd.
It's nuts. I remember watching them beat Bo Nix multiple times, and I was like, this Oregon team is nuts. And Bo Nix is really good. And they were like, nah, we here. So overall, I think this is going to be a tough matchup for the Gophers. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get myself there like Tristyn will be able to.
We will.
Yeah, we can still go 5-1. 5-1 in the first 6 games, right? That's the goal. Let's make it happen. 5-1. Anyways, that'll wrap up today's show. We did 2 different opponents, 2 different position groups. We talked about the Drake Lindsey slander. We talked about shout out to our guy in Jace. Any final words for the people, my boy?
It's supposed to be hot this week, y'all. Respect the sun. Respect the sun. If you even think, especially for our non-melanated fans, please put some sunscreen on because it ain't no joke.
Ain't no joke. Take care of yourself. Stay cool. And we will see you next week where we talk about the offensive line, the big sexies. Be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And we will see y'all then. This is Gopher Broke Podcast. Row the boat. Sky, go Gophers, as always. And don't forget to hit subscribe.